Anyway.
All right. Meeting will come to order, please. The only change in the agenda right now is that the number 5 cemetery trustees have canceled for tonight. And we'll get that rescheduled. We'll start with public comment. Anybody wishing to address the board, please raise your hand. I'll recognize you. And you come to the podium, face the board, and you have 3 minutes. So, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Ted Gatsis. Address is 105 Birchwood Road, Manchester, New Hampshire. I've just been visiting all the towns that are in my district to tell folks that if I'm fortunate enough to win the election for executive council, I'll be back to visit you, give you my phone number so that you can reach me, and address any questions that you may have. So with that, if anybody has any questions of me, I'd be more than glad to address them.
Anybody?
None at this time.
No, not right now.
We'll be back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right. So we'll move ahead. Item number 2, Amy Schmidt, Chair, Solid Waste Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I am the chair of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. We've been meeting, and we have just a very brief presentation, and then Randy will take over from me to go over some of the numbers in the spreadsheet. Okay? Really, we're here tonight because we've been spending time talking about the bulky fees. In addition to other things, we also wanted to update the committee, update the board on what we've been doing, and that we have indeed been meeting. So there we go. So that is our membership. I understand the chair is now going to also be a member. I only read the minutes.
I'll be an attendee. I won't be a voting member.
An ex officio member.
If we can ever get the schedule to where we're not both meeting.
Well, we will make sure that is the case. So,
Whatever's good for the committee.
yeah. I think we'll be able to make that work. And I believe, I don't know if Matt is here, but the other members of the committee are. And we've been working very well together. Although you can ask them if I'm out of the room. Left click. No? Right click. But then that happens.
And click next.
Just click someone on the screen and go away.
It's not. There, okay. Nothing? Well, anyway, these are the dates we've been meeting. Obviously tonight's not yet. Does not want to work, there we go. And this is what we've been talking about. Like I said, I just read your minutes today from the September meeting and saw that the swap shop was a big topic for the board last month. And the swap shop is a continuing big topic for us at many meetings and trying to figure out how to work things out. We've been spending the last 2 meetings talking about the bulky waste fees and collection methods, both and for things like air conditioning, who should collect the Freon, how long does it take to take things apart, that type of thing. The hauling contracts, we're changing our hauler this year because the previous hauler is no longer going to be hauling. The disposal and operational costs and budgets, it did take a meeting, maybe a meeting and a half for the committee to get up to speed on the processes, about fees, about the NRRA, the organization that we belong to, that Toby works closely with on recycling and other matters. We've only spoken briefly about how we're going to communicate with the residents of Lee about some of the changes that we're suggesting, talking about changing some signage at the dump, talking about also how to better educate, especially the volunteers at the swap shop, and make things run more smoothly. So as I mentioned before, we have the AC and refrigeration units. It needs to be a professional licensed organization that removes the freon. And we talked about that, how long it takes to separate out the condenser from the rest of the units. And, I'm not gonna restart it, don't worry. It's still got, how about,
Pick a day.
how about AM, 7 AM tomorrow, does that work? Tomorrow? Gosh, I do use computers in my work, honest, but they, not like this.
They're gonna get you.
I guess, okay. And then what the disposal costs are for different types of waste that come into the transfer station. And that, of course, was important for looking at how much we should be charging residents to get rid of their waste. So the bulky waste fees, we discussed the reasons why we have bulky waste fees, that we want to basically cover the disposal costs. We want them high enough to discourage dumping from other towns, but low enough to discourage dumping in the woods or people just dropping them off on the side of the road, that kind of thing. We calculated disposal costs for all items. The current disposal costs we got from Toby. The weights of items we got from the internet, and there was also some weighing done at the dump. And then, put everything into an Excel spreadsheet. Members also researched other local towns' fees to make sure that we were in the ballpark with what other towns are doing. Additional considerations were to eliminate fees for items that we would like because we actually make money from them, like stoves, for example, things that have a lot of metal in them. Not to increase fees dramatically for any one item, and to increase fees for items that really we're paying a lot more for than we were before. And then finally, to simplify the list of fees to make it easier. Also, there were fees that were $2.50, the idea of having 50 cent, trying to get rid of the change. But there were some we felt really we could just bring down to zero and reduce some of the categories. So I'm going to call Randy up now to talk about some of the rest of this, and I'll come back and take up any questions that you have.
Hopefully they'll see that.
Yeah.
I'll hone in on things. I can't see it, hone in. Basically what we did, Dean, he checked with quite a few other towns, probably up as far as Portsmouth, I think. From Durham to Portsmouth. And you got the bulky fees from those towns. Some of the problem is, and then Toby had got some from the last ones in the list there. He got those from NRRA, they had a list. The big problem is everybody listed different. Hardly anybody lists tires 14 inches or less and tires 15 inches or more. They have, every town has a different way of doing it, listing the categories, so it's kind of hard. That's why it's kind of only a guide, but some of them are fairly easy, like Durham, almost everything's just $10. But if you notice, let's see, I don't know, that small engines there, I can't read it.
Is there way, can we take partial of the lights, part of the room?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
So you notice we had a $2.50 charge for small equipment.
Yeah, now we can.
The town actually gets 5 cents a pound for anything. I'll go into that in the next chart a little bit. We also eliminated the fee, or proposing to eliminate the fee on washers and dryers. Not many towns had that. Mattresses, every town is different how they list it, but what we found is that TVs town spent an awful lot of money on TVs, dispose of them. It's 18 cents a pound, plus there's about $1.50, I mean, $1.50 of transportation fee involved, so it's about 19.5 cents a pound. But anyway, I won't have to go over this too much, because you can see the rates are all over the place. Probably the fairest one is Charleston, I think that's what it says. They're all by the pound, they weigh everything. But that's a lot of time involved, a lot of labor. But that is the fairest way. I think that says 0.065 cents per pound, which comes out about $130 a ton. We figure with just the transportation, the disposal and transportation cost on the MSW without any overhead is $80 a ton, and on the C&D, it's $115 a ton. But the electronics all get, the town has to pay for those by the pound. So let me make that go to the next one. It's gonna do that on me.
That's not just me.
Yeah,
Push next.
I'm trying to,
Oh. It is hard.
you gotta do a left click on that?
Just don't click.
Ah,
Not too hard, Randy.
Denise,
This is ridiculous.
Light up there.
Oh, she did.
I went to press.
there we go. So this is a chart, the committee tried to figure out what were the charges, compare the charges, and we tried to do proposed charges based on some weights of things we weighed or found on the internet, and what it actually costs for disposal per pound. As I said before, it's 18 cents for electronics, plus $1.50 for transportation, so it's really 19.5, which I didn't think of till after. 4 cents for MSW, and almost 6 cents for C&D. Some of the items we pay per unit, like propane tanks, and also tires per unit. So, looking at a TV monitor, take an average of 40 pounds, a small one, 18 cents, it costs the town $7.20. We were getting $5, we proposed to put it up to 10. I think maybe we ought to revise the size after I had a personal experience up there on the monitors, but it took in a 16-inch one, it weighed 40 pounds, and it cost $7.20, and I had to pay 10. But there was another one that came in, one of the employees was telling me they had one came in so big, they figured they'd weigh, it was 230 pounds. Which is not a common thing, but you get them, and that costs the town at 20 cents. If you figured 20 cents a pound, that'd be $46 it costs the town, and the town get a $10 fee for that, so. That's why, by the weight, it really is the fairest way, but it's pretty cumbersome. So, a couple of the items like mattresses, we the committee just combined the fees, so we didn't have to figure out whether it was a queen, a twin, or whatever. The chairs and the sofas, they didn't seem to be costing the town that much, so we just made one fee there for all. Refrigerators, where we have to pay $9, that's the $9 there, we have to pay to have the freon taken out. We raised the rates to $15. I've done up 3 different scenarios for getting rid of how to dispose of the refrigerators and ACs, but we haven't really discussed it as a committee yet, so we probably ought to do that first. But in any event, you have to get the freon out, costs you $9. So if you just take the freon out, throw it in and you figure an average of 90 pounds between the refrigerator and AC, the town gets 5 cents for it. Costs you $9, get the freon out of it, so it still costs you $4.50. Plus all the handling, you have to handle it 2 or 3 times, so. Refrigerators, same way. You can bust them all apart, but with the metal prices they are right now, it doesn't seem to be worth the labor charge. I figured it out. Washers and dryers, you can see we get a little bit of revenue out of those. I think was worth the effort to charge for them, because there is overhead even in charging, with employees weighing them or taking money, and then it has to go to, Toby has to figure out all the cash, and then has to go to the town hall, and they have to figure out all the cash again. So there is a cost with charging for things. Computers, we get money for. The actual computer itself, we get 12 cents a pound for those. So we didn't think we should be charging. So average computer, maybe, I weighed up a computer I had, and it was 20 pounds, so 240. Other electronics, we raised a little bit because we have to pay for them. C&D, was probably the biggest raise. We weren't getting, what I figured out, we were getting 85 a ton, we're paying 115, so we split the difference at $100. And the propane tanks are fairly self-explanatory, so. And we deleted the small engines. So that's pretty much all we have on that. Unless you have any questions, I'll turn it back to Amy.
I guess I've never noticed, we have scales there?
We do have
Truck
scales.
scales?
We have scales, but, you know, we weigh all the
They
C&D,
just pull up
all
on
the
the-
C&D.
No, they're not truck scales, they're just regular bin scales, no truck scales.
If you notice those gray cans, containers by the swap
Yeah.
swap shop, those are what they weigh stuff in. They already know the weight of the can, the scale knows the weight of the can, so.
Can they just drive up on the scales?
No, you unload it by hand, whatever you have, you unload it by hand, C&D. A lot of towns charge by the load, they have the weirdest way of charging, you know, a rounded load or a level load, but town only charges for C&D and it gets weighed. Another problem we have is really, when you're figuring these rates, should have mentioned, but you kind of have to do it in $5 denominations. Can't do $7 or whatever, especially if we eliminate the 250 fee, which seemed to make sense, so.
And you're saying that because of the coupon machine?
Coupon machine, and we've talked about that too, and we just haven't we haven't come up with a better idea. I mean, it'd be nice if we had some way to credit cards or invoice or something, but we haven't come up with a better idea. It has been discussed. But for now, it seems to work. But like I say, when you're figuring charges, you can't do it, you either give you 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 or,
Is this everything?
that's everything we charge for now.
That's everything we charge for. And what were the revenues then last year?
It was over 20,000, I think.
20,000. So this list is 20,000, right, last year.
Right, yes. Sorry, I forgot to mention this. This is what the charges add up to as it is, and this is what they add up to proposed.
As it will be.
Even though we dropped out a lot of stuff, we raised it, so how that all works out with the quantities, we don't know at this time.
Right.
I don't think I think it's gonna be at least as much or if not more, even though we've dropped quite a few items. Thank you.
Hi, do you have any questions about anything else that we've been talking about? Or do you have things that you're particularly interested in having our committee consider?
I have a couple of questions in general.
Do we have any commercial haulers that bring in?
Commercial haulers that bring
Or
things?
people that construction, different
If they need
businesses?
to get
There is a
permit.
couple in town. There is a couple in town, like the Tuckaway Company. They come in and bring pallets and stuff in, and they bring in for a construction.
Do they get charged differently, or is it just?
That in the past, they haven't been charged.
You know, it's one thing to talk about, you know, the stuff that residents bring in, and there's this household type of stuff is what we're really talking about. If there's a company in town that's bringing lots of material.
But they come in very rare,
Okay.
very
At
rare.
least the committee should be aware of it. Also, I saw something in here, a temporary permit. Do you have many temporary permits?
No,
So this
I
is,
mean, at all, no.
But this is something that was put together recently.
Every once in a while, so.
I give them out.
I haven't received any, haven't done any.
I give them out. We do, yeah.
Yeah, people come in
Okay. Is it
occasionally.
that from, it's like from other towns or?
No, the property is in Lee,
Okay.
but say someone owns a house in Lee, but they rent it out.
Mhm.
And between renters, they want to clean it out. They don't live in Lee, so they're not a resident, so they come in and get a temporary permit.
John Roman.
Hey, Brunel, go ahead, please.
One of the things in terms of when we started this way back when, one of the questions that I had, which I'm not sure if you guys have tackled yet, is the whole cost effectiveness of this whole thing. And I know, understand one of the things on one of your bullet points was to discourage dumping and, you know, people coming from other towns. But if you get a sticker, you're not gonna get it anyway, so they have to be, you know, a resident of the town. So I guess, is there something that you guys have done in terms of looking at that? Because if we bring in $20,000 and it costs us, I don't know how much, in terms of to monitor this program, to deal with it, is the town, you know, breaking even? Are they losing money? Are they making money? Because I think there's an argument to be made that I'm a resident of town, I pay my taxes to have you deal with all these services, and now you're gonna charge me extra for all these things? And I know other towns do it, but have you, as a committee, looked at that in terms of what's that cost effectiveness of that particular? That's a long
Not for the whole organization, not for the entire system. The alternative would be not charging, is that what you're suggesting? To just have, you know, I mean, because then, I'm trying to figure out, you know, what would be what's the extra cost as a result of doing this? And it's really the interaction, having somebody interact with the residents, right? And maybe some irritation by some residents, or by some residents. But the rest of it, you know, organizing it, getting it hauled out, dealing with it, that would be the same whether we're charging people for it or not. So it seems like the extra cost, just off the top of my head, that the extra cost of doing all this isn't that much compared to the revenues that we're getting there.
Has the committee looked at, because $20,000, that's not very much of somebody's time, especially if they're getting benefits and stuff like that. So my thought was, how much time does it take? Because one of the things we're looking at in the transfer station budget is the addition of another full-time person. That's an expense. So if we're doing things like that to keep this particular program going, where we're only making $20,000 or whatever it is, it doesn't seem very cost-effective to me, looking from the outside. And you guys are more experts than I am, so.
But I just want to try to understand, so instead what would happen is someone would pull up in their car and the bins would be there and they would just sort their stuff in the right bin like they do for other trash, and
I don't know, one of the things
then it
that
would be
in terms
hauled
of
away.
your coupon machine is very expensive. Printing the particular coupons and stuff, it was like $1,200. I don't know if that has changed, but just to do the coupons is very expensive. So I just thought in terms of if the committee could look at that in terms of if it's cost effective or if it's not cost effective, breaking even.
Okay.
So that was one of the things that I was thinking.
Okay,
So, and nothing is more irritable than to go there and say, oh, I have to pay 200 or whatever it was. I don't know, Randy was saying something about his $200 TV or 200-pound TV or something like that.
right, which would just be charged $10. That's a $10 fee, and, you know, nobody else would take it for that little.
So, but it also comes back to philosophy, you know. If I'm in town, I'm paying my taxes, I want my services done, but now you're charging me something extra.
Sure.
And I don't know if we've ever had that discussion.
And I do want to point out, though, that even though you need a sticker, people do have friends in other towns, and if they do learn that it's free in Lee, they ask their friend with a pickup truck to bring all their junk here instead. So I think that there is that concern if we're the only town around not charging, that all of a sudden, people would have a lot of new friends in Lee.
Well, that's something I would expect the committee to come and say, okay, well, we're breaking even, but if we stopped, these could be the ramifications.
Right, sure,
Those kinds of things.
sure. Yeah, we can certainly look into that. I will say, though, that with regards to the tickets and such, we have decided not to have people be able to bring their tickets back to get something from the swap shop. That just really seemed to be adding an extra layer of bureaucracy and time that very few people were taking advantage of anyway. So now you just, that ticket, and the reason for the ticket, like you're saying, is because we are concerned about cash just sitting around in a strong box, and that's why we need a machine. There could be some kind of other, perhaps less expensive device that could be used. We haven't really considered it, but it's possible.
I have a question about the recycling area, swap shop. How much action is going on? It's Tuesday and Thursday, it's open and Saturday, right?
Yes.
Is there a lot of people in the swap shop on Tuesday and Thursday, or you considered paring that back because of lack of volunteers?
I'll defer
I would
to
say there's a
the,
lack of volunteers, because we have to shut it down during the days.
So
It's been a lack of volunteers.
is the committee looking into, saying maybe Saturday is the only day a swap shop would be open?
we have not had that conversation yet, but we certainly.
That's on the agenda for us to talk about the procedures and that at the same time.
I like the fact that it is open, but if it's not highly used and it requires other full-time and part-time employees of the facility to even help sometimes the volunteers, it just, I think, as Scott was saying, sometimes it detracts away. And it should be looked at, and if it's hardly used on Tuesday, maybe that should be given up.
Yep, and there have been other issues too, like there are people who just spent, even though the signs say 15 minutes, there are some people who are spending an inordinate amount of time waiting for the good items to come in and that type of
Leave the
thing.
rest.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anything?
I'm good.
No, I'm good.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for doing all this.
So I just have a question to the board, whether you're prepared to move forward with this. And the only reason I ask is, in order to change the fees, we need to have a public hearing. So do we feel that we're at the point where you're ready to make a recommendation at a public hearing, or are we still going to talk about it?
I'm ready to move forward myself.
I think so too. We've got I don't see any issues with the schedule, so as far as pricing and so on, I can't see where there'd be any complaints about that, considering the services they get from it. I mean, I think it's something we should do. We should do it as quickly as we can.
Can I ask a question of the committee in terms of, because recyclables and stuff like this and recoverables and things are, prices are fluctuating. How fluctuating are they? Because I noticed some of them that you're trying to cover our costs, which is fine. But are you going to be back in 3 months and saying, well, no, that's not covering our costs? How flexible are those particular? No?
Everything's moving.
No, I know that, but how
I know
much
it's
is it
moving, but it's slow. Right now, I know, for example, you take mixed paper and that, it's gonna be like that for X amount of months. I was already told that from the committee. From also to the plastics and stuff like that, they're holding their own. They're dropping a few cents here and there. I've been keeping an eye on that stuff, plus same thing, yep,
regarding these things?
regardless of those.
Okay.
But a lot of it you see there, it's not just the plastics and stuff like that. It's more of disposing the like electronics, those are pretty expensive items to unload. And right now, I have a customer I've been working with to work with those prices with us. So that's how we got a chance to narrow these prices down where they are to make it right. Do best we can to get it down, and plus, a lot of it's the hauling fees too. Trying to incorporate the hauling fees, so.
So they're kind of stable, but they're not going to move too much then?
No.
That's what you're saying, okay.
They're gonna eventually in time, I'm sure I can't tell you, you know how the market is, I just can't tell you. But we're probably not at bottom rock, but I'm sure in time, it might go
But some of
up.
these prices are pretty stable, right?
Yeah, Yeah.
So we have, I mean, I think we have a few of them that are kind of dynamic, they move around a lot. Nothing keeps us from staying with an index. I'm sure those prices come out. I know they do for paper, for instance. Nothing keeps us from moving our rates up and down as the market moves up and down, right? There's no reason we shouldn't.
I think we should move ahead with the
So
public.
schedule a public hearing?
To see what the public has to say.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Toby.
Anyone, any other comments on it?
We lowered the prices on some of the things to hopefully bring in more of the metal, which actually makes the
Understand.
town money.
Which
So,
is great.
Yep.
Can we thank?
and I don't, as far as the, looking into Scott's concern over how much we would save from administering this program, it's really, it's the coupon machine and the overhead with that, and if the fees go away, that's really the only part that goes away. There's not a lot of other stuff.
Toby dealing with the cash on a regular basis.
Dealing with the
Dealing
cash.
with the irate customers because they're charging them $5 for something.
Well, I don't know why the taxpayers shouldn't be irate paying for people, who are throwing away large amounts of construction debris. That's how I feel. We're not really trying to make money. As you see, we're okay with the taxpayers paying for the bulk of the waste, and we're just trying to sort of make the costs in these things sort of be similar to what it takes to dispose of municipal waste. So what I'm trying to say is when it's costing the taxpayers a lot of money, there's fees, but we're not necessarily trying to profit on these particular fees.
No, we want to cover our costs.
We want to cover our costs or come close.
We need to be sure we.
We want to be fair to the
identify all our
taxpayers.
costs. And then, but you're absolutely right. But we need to cover our costs.
Can you thank the committee for their time and efforts so far?
I'm sorry?
Can you thank the committee for their time and
Oh,
efforts?
absolutely, absolutely. It's been, yes.
Well, maybe one thing too, it probably also incorporates what we're talking about is corporate into the training aspect of it too, to let the residents know so things like that doesn't come up. So, all these years, it's good to have a little bit, show them the numbers out there. This is what it is. It's kind of, we're gonna have to do this in order to move the stuff out. Maybe it's the training and all that, and incorporate all this too, and letting everybody know.
Okay, well, the committee's doing a good job. That's a lot of good work. It's nice to have that spreadsheet up there, putting all the numbers in front of us for sure. And also the town survey is very, very nice to have, so thank you very much for that. Now we'll move on. Mr. Bullock.
We're going to go have our meetings.
Are you at our meeting now?
7 o'clock.
We're late. Late for your own meeting.
Thank you.
He's good. Are we doing it in here?
Downstairs.
I need to get. It's right there.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I did.
You might have to do it
Twice.
Yep.
Push the button.
Oh, I'm sorry, you gotta push
Twice.
twice.
Ta-da. All right, so I've come before you tonight to ask for a few things. I'm asking if I can take the pickup truck home and use it to drive back and forth from work. I want to do this because it would provide quicker and better service on call-outs to the town. If I get called out like this past weekend, Stratford County actually called Warren twice because they didn't have my number in their phones yet, but for a raccoon on Newtown Plains Road and a deer on Snell Road. So in that instance, instead of having to drive all the way to the barn, get in the truck, drive all the way back over there to deal with the complaint, I could just go from my house right to there. And then come wintertime, it would benefit us, I could go right out and look for slippery spots instead of driving all the way to the shed, get in the truck, then drive all the way back and go back and forth. I just feel like it would make better use of my time. So there's that one. And then the second one is I would like to buy a spreader for the F-450 pickup truck. The money that I was thinking of using is, in this year's CPI, there was $10,000 for a new lawnmower. The guys over there said two mowers are in good shape, and lawnmower prices have come down a lot. $10,000 is a lot. I've gotten quotes from two places that I think Julie put in. I got another one this morning that's even lower than the first two.
Thank you.
So even if I still needed to get that lawnmower with the last quote I gave you to mow the cemeteries, which is what it was earmarked for, I should be able to actually get both a 48-inch mower to fit between the stones and that spreader on the same $10,000. The reason I wanted it is because the 1 ton, or that 450, essentially now it plows snow. It can't do anything else. This way I can go into developments with it, and I can try to use it as another plow truck to shorten up some of these guys' plow routes, because some of the plow routes are 3 hours long, and going in and out of all the developments. That's a long time between plowing if you're getting 2.5, 3 inches an hour. So if I can try to shorten up the plow routes and use it, and then plowing this parking lot, and it'll keep getting here and plow this parking lot better and sand it and salt it. Same with the town hall. And then the big one. I'm asking if we can raise the rates for the part-time plow drivers. Because with Randy leaving, his brother doesn't want to plow anymore, and a couple other guys have not really wanted to. At the rate of $19 an hour, I've called and asked people that have plowed for me in the past, and none of them would come plow for $19 an hour. I know like Rye Beach Landscaping, which I know is a private company, they pay their plow truck drivers that plow all the state roads $20 an hour. Some of them are cash, some of them are not. Barassa Construction pays $25. And then the town of Stratham pays $22. And the town of Newmarket is $20. I wanted to raise them to $22. That way maybe I could steal some from other towns, as much as that's probably not something I should say. But it would also hopefully entice some decent drivers to come want to work part-time, because finding a good plow truck driver is few and far between. And then, yeah, that's all I got for you guys.
So, but are you still also proposing to raise the rate for the two drivers that we have?
Yes, I would like the two drivers that I have that drive the pickup trucks, I'd like to raise their rate each $1.
That makes them 19?
No, it would make,
One is 16 and the other's 17.50.
That's the new rate.
that would be the new rate, yes.
So, I guess we should take these things one at a time, Mr. Chair.
Yes, yeah, I think that'd be the best way to do it. The first one, hold on, let me get my paperwork squared away. The first one relative, I guess, to the truck will cost, let's see, $5,518, is that right? No, it's not, here it is. I'm sorry. $5,255.
Yeah, that's the quote I got this morning that wasn't included. I tried.
Okay.
So I tried to get 3.
And we have money in the funds for this?
In the,
Capital reserve.
Capital reserve fund, yeah.
Scott? any-
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with it as well.
Thank you for looking for another one that's cheaper.
Yes.
That was good, thanks.
Okay, so make a motion. Authorize the highway supervisor to purchase a new 2.5 CY Fisher Poly. No, this is the spreader I'm looking at here, isn't it?
Yeah,
This is the spreader. Is that what we're talking about?
yeah.
Okay. The spreader for the F-450 plow truck from
HP.
H.O. Fairfield?
HP.
HP Fairfield.
Yeah.
And to utilize $5,255 from the Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. So the next one on the list is relative to utilizing town-owned vehicle.
We have precedent already. I think if we
With
have the
other,
same,
yes.
I think if we have the same kind of agreement we have with the other ones that we have with Mr. Bullock, I think that would be fine.
John, comment?
I'm in agreement.
I'm in agreement. A motion. Allow the highway supervisor to utilize town-owned vehicle to commute to and from work, subject to the same policy that covers police and fire chiefs.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I assume that means effective immediately?
Yes, sure.
Friendly amendment.
Yes, friendly amendment, effective immediately.
Okay. And the last one relative to the part-time pay for the snow plow drivers and the two plow drivers that we have. Comment, Scott?
The only question I had is, Stephen, when you're saying the 22, that would be for the large truck drivers?
Yes,
The small trucks would be this lesser amount?
yes, the lesser amount.
So that's the distinction?
Yeah, CDL dump truck drivers that are driving the big plow trucks with wings.
Okay, all right. That sounds fine.
John?
Yeah,
Comment?
I don't have any problem, it's just I'm just looking at the chart you put here, you got CDL at current 19 and CDL at 1768.
Well, that was based on the 2 CDL drivers that we had last winter. So one was making 19 and one was making 17.
So they're all gonna make 22, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
If they have a CDL, they're gonna make 22?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Just one flat,
I agree.
just one flat rate for them.
I think it was last year, where's it gone? Was it last year or the year before, we started the thing where they got this like bonus thing? Are we gonna continue to do that too?
I can't remember whether that was last year or the year before.
Bonus thing.
I don't remember.
There was like a $250 bonus if they stayed the whole year. I don't know if we're continuing to do that. I would not want to continue to do that if we're gonna raise the rates.
I would be in agreement.
Let's see what this does.
Understanding of
Yep.
the 3
Yeah, we'll see how it works with the rates, and then if things don't work as well, we'll have to visit again.
Okay, enter a motion, approve pay increases as presented for part-time snow plow drivers effective November 1, 2018.
Second.
All in favor, second? I got a second, sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Hope it'll be that easy in the future.
Probably won't.
You're on your honeymoon right now.
I know.
I'm giving you a break.
Happy winter.
Happy winter.
We'll talk about that deer in the
Sure.
All right, Chief Dronsfield, staffing issues.
Actually, we've changed that because Chief Nevitt and I wanted to address this together. We've been talking about, we have a lot of the same issues. He wanted to wait until after his budget presentation, so we'll come back for that. But what did come up, I got a call yesterday from Deputy Chief Kelly over in Durham. They're concerned about rioting with the World Series, which happens every year. It's not if, it's when. So I've actually got a meeting with them tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning to figure out. The issue is if the Red Sox win the first 3 games, the 4th one could be the problem. If they lose that one, the 5th one could be the problem. So they need to be ready for each night. So when they call upon us to go over and help them out, depending on how long we're there, It may run over my 24-hour limit. Not sure, but I just wanted to be prepared. When I go talk to them, I'll say, yeah, we can help out, and so that's just what I'm here for tonight.
Is it just you or other officers?
It'll be some other officers, but the other officers aren't limited.
Just, okay.
I don't have any problem with that.
I don't have any problem with it either.
Okay, thank you.
Just make sure you don't get on any YouTube videos.
Yeah, Barstool, watch out for. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Have a good night.
Good night now.
So, Selectman Bugby will update the board on the outcome of the New Hampshire legislative
I
policy.
forwarded you the document. I don't have anything specific to say on any of the particular things that are in it, but you can peruse it. I don't know if you have any questions on any of the particular things.
No,
Pretty straightforward.
So, but it's an extensive process. Some of those things will never see the light of day, but you know, if you don't ask, it doesn't seem possible. But I think the biggest thing is in terms of, at least the feeling I get from going to those meetings is they just want the state to fulfill their obligations and stop pushing things back on the town. But, you know, it's an interesting
Right.
process, too.
Right.
And I agree.
We just want the state to fulfill their obligations.
Yeah, and stop
That would
changing.
be nice.
Okay, any more conversation, anything? We good?
On that one, no.
Okay, so we'll move on. 2018 tax rate.
Nope.
No?
You missed one.
Where did I miss?
Number 8.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. 2018 volunteer dinner, Scott.
Yep.
Selectman Bugby.
I don't know if we want to do this again this year, but we've done it the last couple of years, and if we want to do it, depends on where we want to do it. Last year, we did the Grange because there was an issue. I was contacted by Brian Ferguson from Flag Hill. He's interested to have us if we want to, but we need to start like now. So I don't know if you guys want to explore that. Do you want to see if we can have it at the Grange again? The other thing, we asked for volunteers for the volunteer, we already gave out the lifetime award already. But I don't know if you're interested. So one, do you want to do something? Two, where do you want to do it?
No, I think it's necessary to do something, to be honest with you, for the, but, I mean, the first one we had went very well. The second one did also. I personally like Flag Hill as a venue myself.
I agree. I think it's something we started, not that it's be expected all the time, but I think it brings the community together, especially the volunteers. It also says that Lee appreciates all the help. They can't run out the volunteers. Maybe other people think about volunteering for committees when they get these things.
Yeah, because I'm very impressed with what the solid waste people have done. They spend a lot of time and effort, so. And I think, for me, I think that dinner is a way to say thank you. For all the
Absolutely.
time that they put in, because, you know, some people put in hundreds and hundreds of hours a year, and, you know, I know they're not doing it for the pat on the back, but I think a little acknowledgement is a nice thing to do.
So I agree. So the dinner is definitely a must. Whether it's Flag Hill, the Grange, Flag Hill's nice because it has a parking issue, which I don't, there's no issue with parking. The Grange always has a little bit more of a parking problem.
Yes, it's a challenge.
It's a challenge. But beyond that, either venue is fine with me.
Yeah, I think it's nice that they can walk into the restaurant at Flag Hill, sit down
Sure.
at a nice table. I mean, it's got some, you know,
It's got flavor to it.
yeah.
So let's plan on it.
So, who do we want to do that?
Denise?
It was so fun when I did it before.
Well, you did a great job.
Do you want to do it again?
Sure.
So I guess contact Brian, he'll be expecting your call. I'll send him an email and tell him that we're interested. So you'll have to find out in terms of menu and dates. Also in terms of, in the past, we've had the volunteers.
Yes.
What about guests?
What about what?
Guests, their
Guests.
significant others.
Well, I think we have to.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
like one significant other.
One, yeah.
Okay. So,
Was it last year or the year before where volunteers could bring significant others, but town staff was limited to town staff?
I think that was at Flag Hill, wasn't it?
that was the Flag Hill.
Yeah,
Because they can
because
only
we had
take
a space
90
issue.
per se.
Yeah, so it's a limited number of people.
Except for police and fire, because we didn't make that limitation to police and fire.
And probably need
Probably need to make that limitation again.
Right,
Well, the other thing is that last year, the fire department didn't attend because
Right.
they
right.
wanted to do their own thing.
Mhm.
So I guess your task would be, one, to find out, I assume the police would do it again, because they did it all the years. Find out from the fire department, whoever their, I don't know who's in charge of the bar one now.
I know.
Okay, you know, so find out if they're interested to attend. And then find out from Flagville in terms of dates, menu and stuff. I think we did Thursdays. I don't- I think it was.
I think it was something, Thursday, well,
We'll find out what
Yeah.
dates he's free. And,
don't put on the planning board schedule, talk to,
yeah,
it's so hard, try to find a day sometimes.
Yeah.
okay.
All right, then we have, the next one is department head training.
It's that time of year again.
Yes, it is.
We said we wanted to do it in the fall. Susan contacted me and said, are you interested in going forward? Last time I knew we were.
Yes.
If we're Richard to go forward, two things. One, find out some dates from the staff that they're free. Second, in terms of what particular programs do you want to
I was
do?
gonna say, what is it that we're gonna
I
train
can
in?
get that there's a sequence and we're kind of partway through it. I can find out from her what that is. And if you're amenable, can we ask Julie to send out a thing in terms of when you're available with the list of the things that's, the programs that are available? And we'll see what goes
Everybody
along.
check it and send it back in or whatever.
Yep.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Let's
So
do that.
sometime after the holidays, what do you think? I don't know if we want to squeeze it in before the holidays,
I don't
but
think we've done,
I think
I
it's
bet we
already
couldn't get
Yeah.
a good date to even do that, so I think yes, after the holidays.
Yeah.
huh?
maybe January-ish or something
Yeah,
like that.
sometime with a nice
Yeah,
snowy day.
January,
Okay.
be all right. We can
Because
try for it.
Flag Hill, so slow times are January and February, so you'll probably get more
Oh,
dates.
wait, did we just
Wait,
switch?
we just switched
You
topics.
just switched. I thought you were talking about training.
Oh, that's true.
That's right, you did switch.
No, that's true. Never mind. Never mind.
Training in January.
Right.
Training in January, not at Black Hills.
No.
And we're not serving
I was-
anything.
Wow,
We got a lot of training done at Black
okay.
Hill.
But you're gonna reach out to Susan and get the topics?
I'll get the topics and then I'll send them to you and you can send them out to
Yeah.
people,
Okay.
but not January and February.
Find a good date and then what they're interested in.
All right.
That's it.
So now, we'll move on
To
to
the
the
tax rate.
2018 tax rate.
So as you saw, the preliminary tax rate for 2018 is $31.12.
Yikes.
Can you remind us, for every 100,000,
Well, that's changed a bit.
can you tell us what that is then?
Yeah, so for example, $400,000 is 89 cents.
89 cents.
Yeah,
So it's 22.5 cents a
Right.
thousand.
right. So two things that the board needs to consider: what, if any, do you want to use from the fund balance to reduce the tax rate? And then we need to have more of a discussion this year, probably than we've had in past years, relative to the overlay. The overlay is an amount that we are actually raising taxes to pay for refunds owed to taxpayers who are granted tax abatements. We've used $20,000 for the past several years, and that's been about sufficient. But as you know, two things have happened. One, the Fairpoint court case did not go well for the municipalities. We could be looking at hundreds of thousands, more than 100,000, possibly more than 200,000, that we may have to settle with Fairpoint.
And remind me again, it's payable over what period of time?
The overlay or?
No, in
The
terms of
Fairpoint.
the Fairpoint thing.
That has not been determined yet. So that is something that our attorneys are working on with Fairpoint's attorneys, as to whether or not that can
Because ours is $250,000, but other towns are gonna be
be
way more
bigger.
than that.
Yes,
So I can't see them agreeing to say, okay, well, we'll give it to you all in 1 year.
right. And I don't know that this is gonna be settled by June 30th. The other issue is Market Basket. As of right now, we are $1.5 million apart in the assessed value, which is $45,000 in taxes. So that's also coming up. Again, not sure when that's going to settle. So what happens if you don't have enough in overlay to pay for tax abatements, it comes off of the unassigned fund balance.
Sure.
Just like if you put 20,000 in and you only use 10,000, it ends up back in the unassigned fund balance. It's just another mechanism, it's a way to raise taxes at this point for anticipated abatements.
What was the 2018, was it 230 some odd thousand? What was it?
So that's an
In terms of
abatement.
how much got dumped into the unassigned fund balance from this 18?
We currently have 2,172,778 in the unassigned fund balance. I think we probably gave back around 200,000, maybe a little more, somewhere between 200 and 250 from fiscal 18.
And
But right now, we have just under 2.2 million in the unassigned fund balance.
is there any other commitments on those funds?
That includes the commitments.
Nothing to do with purchasing Old Church?
That's already factored into that number.
Yeah, so it was what, 2.4 or something?
2.4.
Yeah.
So it's already factored
So the
into it?
commitments already been taken out.
And we're already in, the 2018 warrant article, the 2018 warrant assigned $273,410 from the unassigned fund balance.
For,
250,000 was to purchase the church property. 3,410 was to settle that Maud Jones forest issue, and 20,000 in the contingency.
And you'll get some of the $250,000 for the church property back because we haven't spent it all.
Hopefully not going to spend that much money.
what are the abatements? Don't know? Any idea, I mean?
The Fairpoint and Market Basket, or
No,
the typical
no,
gen?
the-
They range from $100 to maybe a couple $1,000s.
At a time.
Right, for each
Yeah,
abatement.
for each one.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if your overlay is not enough, it's going to come out of the unassigned anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to play that particular game, but. And the other thing, just to refresh our memories, that we've set that we don't want the unassigned fund balance to dip lower than 1.5 million.
Correct.
And what did you, I'm sorry, what did you say it was at right now?
2,172,778.
So if we reach.
So you take out 400 and you're at 1.7? So you're below the threshold, right? And you said
We're above the
1.8?
threshold.
You're above the threshold.
Oh, you're, okay.
Because the 10%
Yeah, you're above.
threshold is $1,596,471. So if we took 400,000, we still would be all right.
And just for reference, in 2017, we used 400,000.
Right.
2016, we used 160,000. And in 2015, we used 450,000. And those were all just the numbers to reduce the tax rate.
Now, your preliminary is just for what we've seen so far from the ABC presentations, I assume.
What do you mean?
No.
No?
The preliminary
That's
tax rate?
Yeah.
No, that's the
That's
tax
the
rate.
permanent one?
Well,
Yes.
if you don't use anything from the unassigned fund balance, the tax rate's $31.12
It's
for
only time next time,
2018.
for sure. So I'd like to throw something against it at this point, so at least 300,000.
300,000?
That will keep us above the 10% line of the 1,500,000 with a little breather space.
That 300,000 is strictly against the tax rate.
Yep,
Right.
that's it, yeah.
So then we'd still have some other things.
Yeah, that's a little bit too aggressive for me, because if we have to spend $250,000 against Fairpoint, I want to leave at least 1.7, 1.8 in there. Anything above that, I'm okay with. So
But we don't even know that Fairpoint's gonna hit us this time around, right?
Wow.
It could be
I mean,
drafted.
it could be, but
So if we use 300,000, that's a tax rate of $30.46. And again, give or take, because even when we do this, DRA still does some minor calculations.
It's tweaking.
I'm still at 300,000, but we'll see where we go. And you want 200,000?
I want a little bit less. I'd be okay with $250,000. I don't know, 50,000.
well, that's, I was gonna say 250,000.
I'd be
It's
okay.
a good
with-
number. I mean, you know, hey,
They're all good
It's a
numbers.
good number.
No, I mean, you know, I mean, it's a good number. 250,000, oh, you know.
Yeah, let's make it 250.
Huh?
Yeah, let's buy it. Yeah, sounds good.
Utilizing 250,000 leaves a tax rate of $30.57.
And I suggest we leave the overlay at
And
20,000.
just leave the
Yep.
overlay at 20,
I agree.
Yep.
okay? And
So that has to be approved? How does that?
well, tomorrow I'll put these numbers in, send it to DRA, and then they do their final.
So should we get together later this week if it's approved, so we can sign the form, so Linda can get the bills out?
Right.
Sure.
Because we don't meet again until the 5th.
Can I sign the form in advance? I'm leaving town Wednesday. Can I sign it in advance?
Well,
and-
if the board votes tonight, if you give me a vote, then you can sign it contemporaneously.
Okay. Well, it just needs 2 though, right?
Correct.
You could just make the motion, right? Don't you have a motion sheet?
You have a motion sheet?
I actually don't. I know we do. We do?
Don't have it.
We
It's
do?
right here.
Yeah, that's what-
Don't have
Oh,
it.
there.
Yeah, I got it right here. Okay, so I'd like to enter a motion, move to authorize the town administrator to forward to the Department of Revenue the Town of Lee 2018 tax rate reflecting an overlay of
20,000.
20,000 and applying 250,000 from the unassigned fund balance in order to reduce the tax rate to approximately
$30.
$30.57.
$30.57 per thousand.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. Done.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
So just let us know when that form's ready, then
Yep.
John and I can
Come in and do it. As long as Denise pesters me.
Because I leave early Wednesday morning and won't be back for the following Wednesday.
dinner.
Huh?
As long as Denise pesters me, but now I volunteered to go to all the dinner.
So the next item,
Next item is you.
Lee Circle Water Agreement. Just wanted to give the board an update since our last conversation about this. And there is a meeting scheduled amongst the parties, I forget the exact date, but it's coming up sometime in November, with Durham, the UNH Water, the state officials, Karen Rossi and myself. Last conversation I had with Durham's engineer, April Talon, she indicated to me that the town staff is going to recommend to the Durham Town Council that a surcharge of 15% be levied against Town of Lee water users once this new water line goes in.
The rationale for this would be?
I asked for the rationale and I have yet to receive it, so I'm going to continue to press for that. I will certainly ask for that rationale when we're all sitting around the table. She also was supposed to send to me the PUC regulation that allows one municipality to do this. The other thing I want to find out from Durham, unless someone here knows, is their water system entirely an enterprise fund? In other words, does it pay for itself? Okay. So these are some of the questions I'm going to have when I meet with them, but I just wanted to give you an update to that because that's, to me, that's a pretty hefty surcharge.
It sure is, yeah.
Do you know what their rates are, right? What would that, so 15% of $1 is 15 cents, but
Right.
what is it? Is it like $10?
Well,
or-
I do remember I did a calculation, I just don't happen to have those figures with me, but I did a calculation on, say, the average restaurant's water use. I mean, it adds hundreds of dollars to the water
Monthly
bill
or yearly?
yearly.
Yearly, okay. So it's not an astronomical amount, but it's still more.
It's noticeable.
It's a noticeable number. And then the other question I would have is, are they gonna be charging the 15% surcharge to the people that have been on the water line
Yeah.
since the 80s? So I'll continue to keep you advised as we have those discussions with them.
I wouldn't be against them charging some administrative fee because, you know, they have to bill some outside, you know, it would be a Lee resident or a business. But I think that's a little bit pricey. And being that we're good neighbors, we let them use our
We
field
got
over
the
there for
solar
their
field
solar
out there.
array. So
There's gotta be something we could,
I think there's a RSA that allows us to tax solar arrays at a heavier rate than.
I think so too.
Too bad we did the pilot.
an agreement.
Too bad we did the pilot.
You know,
We did the pilot, didn't we?
we could go out
Can
there
I
and
ask a
cover them
question?
up with a blank.
Blank. I don't know if this was something we talked about before, but did our legal people look at those agreements that they want to tweak? I just
They
wanna-
have them right now.
I just want to make sure that we're not getting shortchanged legally.
Yep,
We're not legal divas here, so
right.
are they trying to do something
Yeah.
sneakily or naively
Right.
in their favor?
Well,
How about that?
I did relay that the board does not want to give up the amendment language that protects the original,
Hmm.
Yes.
I want to say, the wells in the circle. And the 15% reserve if the
The yield is-
gallonage goes over 700,000
Yeah.
gallons per day.
All right.
So
Thanks.
I did advise her of that. Public safety sign, complex sign update.
Oh, yes. So I did catch up with my contact at the TV liquidator company, and I found out a couple things. This one part is hard to wrap your head around, but the messages, you had asked how many messages can go up at one time, and he said, I still can't understand this, but he says that you can put up 250 messages.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, you can't see all those messages as you're driving by,
No,
but
it-
those are how many messages that the machine, that the sign can hold.
Depends how much you put in memory. Yeah.
And for each message, and it can have 250 characters. So he said it's endless, he's almost endless. So he's like, don't worry about it, you'll have plenty of room to put on yourself that you want to put on there. And then I did find out that as far as the feet away from the sign, as far as programming, at the very least, he said 50 feet. There's something wrong with the school that I contacted. He said, tell them to call us because there's something that needs to be fixed over there if he can only be 10 feet away. At the very least 50 feet, but he said there is a wireless way to do it. He can program any one of these signs to be wireless. There is a cost, it's not cheap. It's $700 to get the wireless sign, whatever they have to do to the sign. But he said he could work a little bit on that number. He didn't give me any indication on what, but he knows that I'm serious because I've called him back now 3 times in 1 week. And so I think he sees a sale, so he's willing to work on some of these numbers.
Either that, he's gonna charge you for harassment.
If he does the modification, then what, how
Oh,
much?
then I can do it from anywhere with, it's a wireless remote. I can do it from the building, probably even my building. You think so? I don't know, I didn't ask how far, but he
Well,
said
you got
it's,
I don't know if it would be that far, but.
I don't know, but I wouldn't have to go outside.
Okay.
I didn't ask
Understand.
how far the wireless would be, but.
And we have the money in the budget for this, don't we, somewhere? Equipment or
I don't
something?
know what the total cost would be.
Right, well, now, if I did it depends on how low I can get that 700 and which sign. I wanted to get up here and measure again out there, because I noticed that the existing poles are gonna play a part in how wide that, I don't think when Kristen measured for me, she took that into account, so I wanted to get out there, but I didn't get a chance today, it was kind of a little
Well,
crazy.
the other part you gotta calculate in there is electrical cost, in terms of, you're gonna have an electrician. run some wire someplace.
Right.
Yes.
To power it.
The sign is a two-sided sign?
No, you'd have to buy two.
Okay, so the posts, they'll just go on either side of the post. It's not a problem if they're
Right.
longer than the post, you just put them,
That's true. That's true.
Right, they'll
I was
just go on
looking at
either
the
side of the
hanging
post.
part of it, but you're right, we could mount them.
you
To
can
each
put
side
one
or-
message on one side, another message on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
other,
yeah.
or however you wanted to do it.
Well, you
Yeah.
must have the power requirements too. Who's the electrician that we usually use? You can get him,
We've been using Chris Smith.
yeah, see if he can pull power from one of the overhead lights out there.
I don't know, can you? Oh, one of our lights.
Yeah, one of our
Oh, okay.
lights. Because if he can run a conduit from one of those overhead lights, just to draw power, I'm not sure what he can do.
Mm.
but-
All right, I'll
And that would probably be your easiest thing, because other than that, you're gonna have to run it from the building, that's gonna be a little bit more expensive.
Right.
So are you the only person that will run and program this?
I could, I could train someone else to do it,
Well,
so
that's-
when I'm not around, yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go through Julie on this in the sense
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
need some kind of policy and process.
Well, I would think we'd probably train Kristen to do
Yeah.
it, so.
That'll reside within your office
And
and.
Kristen or Robin?
Yeah, no.
No?
These guys,
I'm not going there.
in terms of, you can have whatever, the 200 messages, can you put down in terms of when the message can run? Could you say like, I
Oh.
want this message to run from like November 1st to the 6th, or is it just?
Oh, I didn't ask
Like a
that
scheduling
detailed
kind of thing?
questions. I don't know about scheduling, I mean, definitely the times,
So
I
you
mean,
could-
how long?
Oh,
Any,
like, could you do like, I want this message to run during the day, and then these 3 messages to run at night? How sophisticated is
yeah, I
it?
don't know.
Or is it just, these are the messages and they just run?
I think you need a fish or cut bait pretty soon and come forward with something.
You keep coming up with questions.
I know, you keep coming up with other questions. Where am I gonna-
So next time, come forward with something,
Okay.
a number. And if you mess up, we'll just hold it against you the rest of your life.
Just remember, you threw underneath the bus for the volunteer part.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to take that
Give
back.
her a
It was
little
very
slack.
quick, wasn't it? It was a
Yeah,
snap
it's a
decision
slack.
at that point.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the drama for C.
So,
Well, so the Boston Post came, town secretary's been working on this, and she found and spoke with the oldest resident in the town of Lee, and that individual is appreciative, but is not interested in receiving the Boston Post cane.
Interesting.
So, so I guess we're gonna be awarding it to,
Well, the family wants it to be a surprise, so I don't know, I don't know if saying it here will ruin the surprise, because who knows who watches this. But, I don't know what you want me to do, but we need to,
so we have another candidate.
we have another
Another
candidate,
candidate.
and they would like to do it, and this is kind of late, but 7:30 at night, so that people can come from wherever they're coming from. I know someone's coming from a little far away.
do they wanna do
And
this?
Wait, I'm sorry, you just confused me. They want to do it at 7:30 at night, so people will have time to come to the event?
Yes.
Is that it?
Down at
Okay.
the safety complex, downstairs,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
like we did for Wally.
Mhm.
And the date is, they didn't have a specific date because they know you guys are very, very busy, and so they left that kind of open. So whichever
We can set the date, I
evening you
guess.
would like to do it, because I know, there's planning, there's this, there's that, there's so many nights.
Well,
that-
then you have to give us, how much planning time do you need?
Well,
No, but I don't need a lot of planning time, I
Okay.
need planning and zoning and this meeting
But
and that meeting.
can't we first ask them for them to give us a date that would be good for them? And let's see if we can use it. I mean, if they have people coming, if they're gonna make.
No, I
an
think you
event.
can just pick a date that works for you three, and they'll work it in.
Well, after the election, that's for sure. Let's get that done first.
Yeah.
Can't have it the 6th, can't have it the 7th. There's already something going on. Do it the 8th,
The 8th is a Thursday?
Thursday.
As long as no planning board meeting. I don't know what the meetings are.
Want to try it?
You can try to the 8th?
Try for the 8th.
Yeah, why not? The 8th?
Because we normally meet downstairs for the planning board, so.
Do you know of something?
I think there might be a planning board. You do subdivision?
Yeah.
I think there's a
You
meeting.
think so?
I think
Can you
so.
see the website?
9th?
That's Friday.
That's a Friday? All right, so we can, so that would put us out to the next week.
Well, what's next, what's
15th.
next week?
There's nothing on November 8th on the calendar.
That doesn't mean it's not happening.
No,
No.
Yeah, I just got an email about it today.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that's the date.
What's
But the
next?
Thursday after that. It's 15th.
What about next week? We skipped right over next
He's
week.
leaving.
Oh, that's
I
right,
don't know when he's coming back.
that's right. What about next Thursday? We
I'm
you got
gone
next
most of
Thursday?
next week as well.
Next Thursday, yeah.
You're here?
I'm here next Wednesday, I come back.
Are you here next Thursday?
Yeah.
What's the date?
That's
Is
the
that-
first.
Oh, November 1st, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, do you want to put it out to the middle of November? I mean,
Well, she's not getting any younger.
I,
So how do we know? Because now we're
Well-
giving the cane to not the oldest person in Lee. How do you,
well,
You can't force somebody to,
no, understand that. So what do we say? We're just presenting you this cane because.
the oldest accepting person.
yeah.
Oh, all right, there you go. Accept
Okay,
it.
so you're gonna try for
I'll try
November
November
1st?
1st.
Actually, you should
I
put,
would say the oldest gentleman, I guess.
yeah. So, you give it November 1st, but also give a backup date as well,
The backup date will be
just in case that's too close.
Blizzard time or something.
15th,
15th.
Yeah,
1st and the 15th.
All right.
that way there, if the first doesn't work, at least it's too close to them for some reason.
Yes.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
Thank you for doing that.
We're gonna have cake and cookies.
Oh, that's right. Do we have any refreshments?
There's a Heritage Commission meeting
On the
on
15th?
the 15th.
Oh, shit. Okay, don't do the 15th.
Yeah, because, yeah.
How about the 13th?
What about the 14th?
14th, that's a Wednesday.
Wednesday?
14th is a Wednesday.
14th?
Okay.
Fine.
What are we at now, the 14th?
14th.
First
First
and the
and the
14th.
First and the 14th.
So it gives
Or
a
we
week.
could do what about the 7th? We didn't talk about Wednesday the 7th.
There's a
No,
thing for
there's a
Randy.
program.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Right.
Then you can talk about railroads.
Good, thank you. All right, so first and 14th.
Yep.
Yeah, and some kind of refreshments, right?
Yeah.
Are you doing like a little cake?
Would you like cake?
Yeah, I would like cake.
Yeah, the shape of a cane. Oh, it's easier to slice.
You can just whack it.
Why don't you get a sub or something in the shape of
Well, that's something different, you know,
Oh, I do.
a jelly roll, a long jelly roll,
Uh,
a tapered jelly roll.
Well, let Denise be creative. How's that?
Come on.
cider and
Yep, cider,
cake? Yeah, cider and cake.
apple
Oh,
cider.
Cider donuts would be good.
Apple cider
That's
donuts?
Donna.
Oh,
Donna makes donuts.
apple cider donuts.
That's different.
Huh?
Yeah.
And
Apple cider donuts.
There we go. What do you think?
Cider donuts are good.
Think the town administrator let you go
When
home and
they're,
cook
when
those?
they're nice and moist.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Election coverage for November 6th.
I will take the first shift even though my heart's not in it.
Oh, geez. I'll take the
You don't
evening
know,
shift.
you don't know what I went through this last time.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
John and I heard it.
We heard
Yeah,
it.
good.
Yes, we did. You took it
And Mr. Bugby will serve in a limited fashion in the middle of the day.
Yes, a very limited fashion.
For any reason,
Very
somebody
limited
wants
that
to
is. So
take my
what's-
place?
So what's our times? 7
He's
to,
7 to noon.
Yeah, you're noon to 5?
5-ish. And I'll be there the rest of the night. Counting ballots.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
just don't start too soon. And so, miscellaneous, is she here tonight?
Yeah,
Yes, a lady is.
that's all I've got.
Okay, that's all you've got. So, enter a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Only one good thing for you, Dan.
I thought we did all these.
Denise, do we have to sign the bottom too?
And just the top.
What's that weird, desert one that we don't? Go ahead, sign.
What are we whispering?
What are we signing for? I'm not gonna sign it unless I have to sign it.
It's a clerk, it's a clerk's form.
We hereby certify that we give notice to the inhabitants within the named to meet at the time and place and for the purpose within mentioned by posting an attested copy of the above warrant at a place of the meeting and at the office of the town or city clerk or city hall on blah, blah, blah. So it's just saying that we're gonna post this.
Right. But what's in the little box down below?
That's
Yeah,
That's
what's in
what
the
you
line
read?
box?
That's
Oh,
what I just
okay.
read. But it sounds like we did this, but then we said that now we're gonna post it.
Okay. Yep.
I guess we better sign it anyway. Sign it away.
Oh, dude, it's on sticky happy.
Maybe it's only certain
Sticky,
collections.
missed one.
Sticky.
Mr. Brown got it, but you missed it. That's unusual.
There was another one there?
Yeah, it was sticky.
She's got a sticky on my name here. You gotta do that. There we go.
Good luck with that. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Miscellaneous unfinished business, anybody?
The TCBC has finalized their program requirements. I don't have a final copy for you. It's got some typos, so I can send that to you. We're meeting with tomorrow, and we're gonna have Karen come with us, or is invited, she's gonna come, and we're gonna talk about parking requirements. They're proposing some very large parking requirements. We're trying to get some handle from Karen in terms of what the town's requirements are. So that's the next thing that he's waiting for us so he can start his process. But he showed us some conceptual drawings, they're kind of interesting. So he's going to move forward with that if we tell him all the parking stuff, so.
He's gonna have the drawings with him at the next
He's already
meeting?
showed them to us.
Oh, it's already
Yeah, he
shown.
wanted to get some kind of direction from the group in terms of kind of where things are. And this isn't etched in stone, but just a place to start. One of the things we talked about is having the possibility of having the church and this town parking connected. So kids can walk from Massway to like the library and stuff like that, Historical Society. It's not a big thing, but, and then in terms of facing of different buildings, like the municipal building and things like that, so. That's what he's working into.
When does the board get to see a milestone or something of what's, where they
At
are?
the next process, in terms of when they come back with something,
Mhm.
because he's gonna come back with a couple of different options, as far as I remember.
He said Friday.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
but when he finishes, because the thing, I can really send you what the program thinks, there's some typos in there, so we asked them to fix them, just it doesn't look professional.
Yeah.
Like he spelled toilet with an R, so, you know.
It's just
that's where you come
typos.
from.
Yeah, the typos. But then you'll have at least those. But yeah. So, we talked with, the last meeting, Kathleen Porter came, she's the public liaison person. So we talked about different ways to get information out and to interact with the public and stuff like that. So that part is moving forward, but they need some direction from us in terms of those parking things. So, I don't know, in terms of, John, when you deal with the planning board in terms of parking requirements?
There is a certain number of, estimated number of people, and the type of the, normally it's, it's 10-foot type long, and a 20-foot long, 10-foot. There's different parameters, but a lot of times we waive it depending on need.
So in terms of, John's been doing some research in terms of what we have for regulations, but they don't seem to match in terms of what we're doing. It's like, where would a library fit in? Where would a municipal facility fit in? It's just like,
Karen should know those things.
well, that's why we're having her come, to see
Yeah,
if she can give us some directions. But they don't seem to fit. I don't know, John, do you have any comments?
Well,
Not to
they
put you on
don't,
the spot, you don't have to,
except for the place of assembly, none of them match exactly. But what I was suggesting is that we can take, like the function in the municipal office building, part of it is like this use and part of it is like this. So we take those two requirements and blend them together and come up with a number. Some parts of the office building, like the town clerk, that's like a service business, like a bank. People walk in and out. And other parts are really like just administration. Doesn't have customers coming in and out all day. So you blend it instead of treating it as one building. I think there's enough there that we can come up with the reasonable numbers.
How persnickety is the planning board going to be if we come and say, we'd like to have 60 spaces? Are you guys gonna say, geez, no, we've got rules and it has to be?
No.
So you're not gonna?
Very open.
Okay.
They're very open.
Because I think
discussion.
the tact that we would have is in terms of, we don't want to just say, okay, we're the town, we're exempt, we're not gonna do this. But we'd like to follow the same rules that somebody else that comes in and has these kind of facilities.
Exactly.
So if we came to you and said, we think it should be 62 spaces for all these things, you guys can take a look at it and see if, you know. Okay, so that's,
It's normally a healthy discussion, but
okay.
we look at reality at the same time.
I see now that there's an official effort to save the parish house.
Yes, there's an official effort to save the parish house.
Okay.
That means save it, doesn't mean leave it there.
Well, it does if you read the dialogue that goes along with Save the Parish House.
Yeah.
Because
Well, you can always move the parish house.
I'm only telling you what's in the
I'm just giving,
message.
I'm just putting them on the floor, that's
I'm
all.
just saying. The
We
message
do have,
says,
we had a warrant out there, and we passed it.
Well, yeah, so are they going to be putting forward a warrant?
But there were already was one.
They're going to be putting forward a warrant that asks for the town to give them more time to figure out what to do. And as you know, it's been placed on the 7 to Save list. So their tact is going to be to ask the voter to give them more time to present something to the town in terms of what to do with that particular facility. And also in terms of funding to repair it.
yeah, which they haven't mentioned the funding issue yet.
It's a little bit disingenuous at this point after we've gone this far, and everybody's been involved in this discussion, even having somebody in authority who understands history of buildings come and talk to us at this point. So that's a little bit disappointing at this time.
Yeah, I agree.
Because this could throw, if you grant an extension for another year, let's make believe. I mean, that kind of puts everything off that scheduling that we're trying to do.
And it's got a cost impact.
Yeah, it sure does.
Well, in terms of whatever they come back to you with, in
Yep.
terms of funding and things like that, so. But yeah, well, that's one of the things in terms of, and the TCVC is aware that they do not take into consideration any of those particular things. It's not what we're looking at. But, there is a group that wants to save it.
Yep.
So, I think part of it is the legislative body interested? If they're not, that's fine,
Sure.
they're the ones that are gonna be owning the facility. But they're going to be asking for an extension in terms of funding that. And there are funds out there.
Yeah.
LCHIP is one of the particular ones. New Hampshire Preservation Alliance is one of the ones. And I think one of the things that has been discussed is, it's a town building. They're using a town building now, a historical society.
Well, I think some of the issues that are coming up now is it even movable?
Probably not. All it takes is
Without
money.
turning into a pile of.
All it takes is money.
So,
Well, it's an interesting, does that affect how the planning that's going on, the build out for where a new town hall might be placed?
There was only one of the scenarios, I don't remember which one, it was number 3. I think it was number 3, had parking going there.
Okay.
The other two, and the committee kind of went with number 2, which
But-
it wouldn't affect it at all.
But that was a possible place for future parking for an addition to the municipal office building.
Yeah.
That's one of the things, and it's, just to let you know, one of the things that we asked them to do is, don't put it in the plan, but
Right.
plan for an additional space in terms of doing meetings, like 1,200 square feet. But with that particular extra space, it comes additional parking requirements.
Of course.
That's where the parking would come for that particular expansion. But we're not having them put in that room. We're just saying, just plan for it. Going forward. You have to have extra facilities, bathrooms and stuff like that, and then additional parking.
So if it goes the other way and it's kept, at least we don't have to pay for ripping it down. We'll save some
You
money.
would save on that cost.
Yeah.
Well, their thought is to use it as part of the historical society. So,
I'm sorry, use it as well.
part of the historical society. So maybe there's freight depot over that way. But I think it's something that you have to ask the voters. So,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Okay.
And the other thing is that Thursday night, we are meeting with the planning board to discuss Bedrock Gardens. It might be the final hearing at this point. We did get a traffic report, which we're studying. And they covered just about everything else. The things we'll be discussing in days of operation and hours of operation are the two major issues at this point.
When is that, John?
It's Thursday night at 7 o'clock.
How do you do the parking expansion, or what are they doing?
They're trying to get a secondary in and out type of thing. That'll be discussed as well. But it seems like a lot of things, issues with respect to, they're talking about a stockade fence along the front of the road so nobody will see the cars. That was a point of discussion, should we put bushes or fences? And then the grumbling property is separation along the side, I think that's been taken care of. So a lot of the hot points have been taken care of at this point.
Good.
Good.
But they seem to be cooperating.
Yes, they are cooperating.
Julie, anything? No? Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Wow, we're rolling.